say worship means freedom in a lot of ways. It gives me a lot of opportunity just to express freedom and joy. Yeah, whatever that looks like, with dance, with singing, with art, just sitting and being still. That's what worship, it's very significant in freedom for me.
It's pretty essential. That was what we were made for. We were made to commune with the Lord, and so I just think worship is not just when you're singing or even when you're listening to a teacher teach or even reading the Word. It's more than that. It's kind of how you do life. And
worship is just so much more than singing at church. Worship is in the midst of everything that we do every single day. It's just how you live your life. A lot of times people close their eyes and they think if they raise their hands that they're worshiping God, but you can worship God washing dishes. You can worship God in your job. You can worship God in the conversations that you have every single day. Worshiping God just by living your life. And living your life with God controlling it, basically.
To me, worship is just telling the Lord who He is and what He's done, and giving Him just the highest place of honor in your life.
Worship is a command we have from God. It's not just something we should do or something we need to do, but it's something that God commands us to do. And it involves more than just a singular action, whether it be singing or painting or dancing or running sound. It's a way of life, living in a way that glorifies Him.
Worship to me is just a response to truth, and it's a chance to humble ourselves before the Lord. It's a response to the truth that knowing Him and knowing who He is better than anything.
I worship a bunch of different ways. Clearly, I adore music. It's fun. I think it's definitely from the Lord's heartbeat, you know. I feel like He digs it.
One of my favorite things in the world is to be on stage and worshiping God and be able to look out and see other people worshiping Him too.
There are special gifts like being able to be a musician or dance or paint or just different art forms that can be worshiped too, and all those things glorify God. And with hip-hop being a form of worship, because I feel like the world distorts hip-hop and God created it, so it should glorify Him.
We're in here, Miss Suzanne taught us about how our dance floor is a canvas and that each of us are a different color and that we paint a picture for God.
Through photography, because all I am doing is studying what He's made from all different angles, looking at it from different perspectives. That's what photography is. And so when I'm sitting here zooming in on a flower, my mind is constantly thinking about God who created this beautiful flower that I'm now taking a picture of. It's just capturing just a bit of what God has made so that people can see it over and over and over again.
I think mainly the way that the Lord speaks to me through worship is just number one, the fact that we get to worship Him is just an honor, and I think I'm continually in awe of how the Lord just loves that we worship Him. I read so much about David and the way that he worshiped the Lord, and he's glad that the Lord hears him and knows him in intimate ways. And so just the fact that we get to worship, I think the Lord speaks to me through worship in that way, just saying, I know you and I want to hear you and I love you, and I love that you worship me. And so I think that's kind of the main way the Lord speaks to me through worship, is just the fact that He knows us and He wants to be known to us.
I think it's the best time to dance is when you're worshiping, because it's a sense of peace that He gives you as you're doing it. You're not worried about what other people are thinking, and you're not worried about hitting all the moves right or anything like that. It's just completely focused on Him, and it's nothing about you and anything you could do wrong, because you know that you're bringing a smile to His face whether you mess up or not.
To me, a lot of worship involves submission to the Spirit and to how He wants to move. I have to get myself out of the way, and I can see that singing songs. If I've got things on my mind, then I'm not going to be able to worship Him. And on Sunday mornings, if I've got stuff on my mind, if I've got myself that I'm focusing on. I'm not going to be able to do anything for the good of anybody else, whether it's people in the band or people in the congregation. When I take things into my own hands, it just doesn't usually end up well.
I feel like there's something about art, and just music especially, that it just speaks to your soul in a way that nothing else really can. So for me, just when I'm worshiping, I just sense a connection with God that I don't feel at other times necessarily.
He lets me remember. He lets me remember, and he's super comforting and very sweet when I do. Remember not just what I've done, but what he's done. You know, more importantly, what he's done. Not just in history, but also in my history. He's just sweet to let me move forward. He's sweet to press on, and to believe that tomorrow equals him, and I'll never not have that.
You know, it's one thing to worship when your hands are full of all that you want, you know, and it's another thing to worship when your hands are empty. And that's what, you know, worshiping, you know, through loss has done. So that's one of the most meaningful times of worship, has been surrounding loss. Has just been open-handed, empty-handed, you know, but really loving Jesus in that place.
This one night I went out, I started taking pictures around 7 p.m. It was a really complex photo shoot. I had 2 different cameras set up and a bunch of math. And I literally took photos from 7 p.m. till about 6 in the morning when the sun came up, and even a little bit afterwards, and just got to see the stars and to see fire and just study all these things that God has created. And it was just so good to be out there in the woods all night with God.
My most meaningful time, I have to say, is I choreographed the dance I Can Only Imagine for a precious little student of mine that passed away with cancer. And I remember standing in my room and I said, Lord, this dance, it has to be just anointed in you, and it has to be completely from you.
God is uncapturable.
God is the author and perfecter of my faith.
He's redemptive.
It's really gentle with my heart and with our hearts.
First word that comes to mind is truth.
He is hope. He is the only hope.
He's also compassionate, because no matter where we are and how broken we are, and when no one else wants us, he does.